Alright, today I'm going to make a lobster bisque. I'm going to start off with a couple of regulation West Australian rock lobsters, some celery, carrots, an onion, some chilies, garlic, tomato paste, cooking butter, cooking cream and some plain flour. First step is to cut the meat out of the craze. So what I normally do is just slice through here with a nice sharp filleting knife. And simply pull the tail away from the head. As you can see, this one's recently shed its shell. The new shell is very soft, hasn't quite hardened up yet. Keep the tails aside, we're going to boil them up to make the stock. And what I sometimes do is I use my skinning knife or a fillet knife just to cut off the unformed shell so that it doesn't get tough and chewy when it's cooked. So once we cut all the meat out of the craze and cut the internal organs out of the carapace, we pop those into a nice pot, cover that with about 6 cups of water. And we put that on to boil. Once it's boiling, we turn it down to simmer and simmer that for about 20 minutes to make the stock. Once you slice the tails up, and just put them in a bowl and put them in the fridge for later on. Okay, now that's done. Stock's bubbling away in the background. Time to chop up the vegetables. So now we've got the vegetables chopped up, we put a tablespoon of olive oil and 50 grams of butter into a nice heavy based pan and just let that melt. Add in a pinch of thyme, and a pinch of tarragon, and we'll just stir that through the melted butter. And then we add our sliced vegetables. And we're just going to let that simmer away on a medium heat and let it sweat the vegetables until they're nice and soft. So while everything's simmering away there on the stove, we can prepare our garlic. Right, once the garlic's nice and minced up, we can just put that aside and chop up our chilies for later on. Just keep the vegetables turning over and let them simmer away until they're nice and soft. Turn the stock down and again just keep that on a low simmer to get the flavour from the shells, and I normally put the legs and the horns and everything as well so you get a nice bit of crayfish flavour through the stock. Once your vegetables are nice and soft, we stir in a sachet of tomato paste. So once you stir through the tomato paste, we add 2 tablespoons of plain flour and just mix that through. Once we've mixed in the flour and the tomato paste, you can add a cup of white wine. I'm not going to put the wine in, I'm going to put in a cup of the stock. Mix that through so the tomato paste and flour are all thoroughly blended. And then just put that down on a low heat and let that simmer until it's reduced down. So once that's reduced down, we add a further 4 cups of your lobster stock. Once you've added the lobster stock, we stir in our desiccated chilies, and you can also, if you want a bit of extra zing, you can put in a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I normally leave the pepper out at this stage, and people can just flavour it to suit when we get to serving it. So just bring that gently to the boil and let that simmer away for about 20 minutes so that the flavours all blend through. So once that's been simmering for about 20 minutes, we're going to turn the heat off and then just move that aside to let it cool down for a little bit. So once we've simmered our veggies for about 20 minutes, we're just going to turn the heat off and put them aside. Melt 50 grams of butter into another nice heavily based pan, and just stir in our garlic. Once we've stirred in our garlic, we just saute that for about 10 or 15 seconds, just to release the flavour of the garlic into the butter. And then we stir in our cray meat. Stir it through the butter to get the flavour into it, and we cook that until it goes from translucent just to a solid white colour. While that crayfish is gently slaughtering away there in the butter, we pour our veggies into our blender. And I normally blend that up for about 30 seconds on about 700. And we're just going to pour our mixture back into the pan. And we're going to stir in 3/4 cup of cooking cream. And then we add our garlic butter crayfish. Just stir that through until it's fully mixed and warmed up again, and then it's ready to serve. So once that's all been blended and warmed through, it's ready to serve. Serve that with some fresh parsley, some bake-at-home dinner rolls, and it's a great entree for a summer barbecue, and it's also a great evening meal on a cold winter's evening.